My name is Chris Murphy. I have the honor of representing Connecticut alongside my great friend and colleagues Dick Blumenthal in the United States Senate. We are here joined by our strongest advocates for common sense anti-gun violence measures. You are going to hear from, thank you for being here, everyone. We are so proud of the anti-gun violence movement here in Connecticut that has really led the way in a transformation of political power in this country. As we stand here today in the spring of 2021, we can say for the first time in a long time that the anti-gun violence movement is stronger than the gun lobby. And we are so grateful to advocates here in Connecticut and all across the nation that allow us to make that claim. We're here today to talk about the path forward in Washington. Senator Blumenthal and I work hand in hand when it comes to trying to move forward measures that will lower the rate of gun violence in this country. And over the last year, we have had a stark reminder of how much work we still have to do. Last year, this country saw over 600 mass shootings. We define a mass shooting as when 4 or more people are shot at any one given time. 600 mass shootings in 2020. The year before, in 2019, we had just over 400 mass shootings. All across the country, there was a disturbing and horrific spike in gun violence throughout 2020. Not coincidental, there was a giant increase in handgun and rifle purchases all across the country. What we know is that every time 10 guns are transferred legally, there are probably 2 or 3 or 4 guns that are transferred illegally. So when you see this dramatic spike in gun sales in 2020, I guarantee you that it also came with a dramatic increase in the number of guns that were transferred illegally or the number of guns that were transferred without a background check. And so it's no secret, it's no mystery why we saw such an increase in gun violence last year. It had to do with the pandemic and the economic desperation that people were feeling and still are feeling, but it also had a lot to do with the fact that there were just a whole lot more guns out there in this country. So what do we do about it? Dick and I and the advocates with us today will talk about some of these measures, but we have a chance to pass the most significant anti-gun violence bill since the Brady bill and the assault weapons ban in the early 90s. We have gone out across the country and brought this issue to the voters, and the voters have responded. We now have a House of Representatives that has passed a universal background checks bill, that has voted to close the Charleston loophole. We have a president who is committed to taking on the gun lobby and signing into law measures that will address gun violence. And we have a Senate majority that is equally committed to expanding background checks, passing red flag laws, working on the interventions that we know will reduce gun violence. Now, we still have a sticky wicket in the Senate, which is the present requirement that you need 60 votes in order to pass any anti-gun violence measures. We can certainly talk about the potential for changing the rules of the Senate, but right now we have to operate under the assumption that we need Republican votes to get an anti-gun violence bill, a background checks bill, passed. I've been on the phone all week with my Republican Senate colleagues, making the case, cajoling, asking my friends to keep an open mind. I and Dick are going to work every single day with Democrats and Republicans to try to find a bipartisan path forward. This is a 90% issue in the American public. I'm the author of the universal background checks proposal before the Senate right now. 90% of Americans think that every gun purchase should come with a background check. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to find 60 votes for a measure that expands background checks. But it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take not only work inside the Capitol, but outside as well, because we're going to need to convince these Republicans that if they choose to vote against 90% of their constituents who want universal background checks, then they're going to pay a price at the polls. So we have work to do, but I am committed to getting a strong bill expanding background checks passed through the Senate, come hell or high water. I'm committed to working with Senator Blumenthal on expanding emergency risk protection orders, closing the Charleston loophole, mandating the safe storage of weapons. We can go down the list of really critical, important interventions. But this is our moment. This is what we've worked for. We asked the American people to put in charge of the White House, the House, and the Senate leaders who are going to stand up to the gun lobby, and they have responded. The voters have done their work. And so now it's time for the Senate to do its work as well. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be working every single hour of every single day to try to come up with the necessary votes to pass anti-gun violence legislation, to pass an expansion of background checks in this country, so we never, ever, ever again see a summer like we did last year, with 600 mass shootings all across this nation. Just last night, we lost another life here in Hartford. Behind me are the mothers of gun violence victims, the fathers of gun violence victims who are still grieving. The epidemic is real, and it is present as we speak, and it is our responsibility, our moral obligation, to use the gift that we have been given by the voters, majorities in the House, Senate, the President of the White House who wants to move on gun violence, and get something done.